All right. Well, good morning for April 26, 2024. This is the BlueGamer Bluecast Morning Show. I'm your host, Adam Blue, professional video game enjoyer for over 30 years with a lot to talk about. Okay, that's unprofessional. Jacket out of the way. Yeah, well, so it's Friday, end of the week. It wasn't really a crazy week in terms of video game news, announcements, or anything like that. In fact, it's been a little slow in general. I think that's just it's going to be like that for the next. I think for this year in general, just having to do with we're still riding off of the damage done from COVID because all these companies going through all this crap, canceling games. It's going to be really weird. But that could give time to talk about other stuff. And so, shout out to Autonomous. Good morning. And a few things to talk about today, I guess. I was just looking at some news that looks pretty interesting. One news item that here's the thing, like on my phone, and on a lot of phones, there's the way where you can like get to news quickly. On like my Samsung, I just swipe to the right, and then it opens up like news or whatever. And on that, it said George Lucas to return to Star Wars. I don't know if that's true or not, but I thought that was very interesting. Let's see what that's really all about. Not really video game related, but that is kind of in the sphere, right? I think you're right. This year, indie games, indie games are, I think, going to be the highlight of this year, and that's what it's going to be. It's going to be games that we don't really, or we're not anticipating, and then all of a sudden we're going to get an announcement from a company we've never heard of a game we've never heard of. I think there's going to be a lot of that. Reminds me back in that 360 era where Microsoft kind of made this opening for indie games, and we got like Super Meat Boy, Fez, Braid. That was a crazy time. Lots of cool stuff. So, I guess just some. What did I do yesterday, gaming wise? Not too much, other than just some more Dragon's Dogma 2, and that game keeps on getting incredible. I almost feel like that could be just like an endless game where every week I just spend a couple hours just questing. It is just so fun. The random stuff that happens, the real fights you get into, and even with the warfare vocation I have, it makes it so much more fun. I was doing archer and fighter, and then magic archer and fighter. Then I switched to magic archer and back to the spear hand, the magic spear hand, because I really like the combat with that. And it's nice how I can just go back and forth, combine them. I've never seen a game ever do that, where it's almost like you're creating your own like custom class. Pretty much the closest I think it got to that is Ghost of Tsushima's way of doing things with the armor builds that you could put together and what they do. You can mix and match, but also make it where you can wear any armor. And so what's neat is it gets to that way in Dragon's Dogma 2, where you can wear any armor type if you are the Wayfarer, because it is built around being any vocation. So, it's just a really neat thing. And then I just think of other games that have classes and builds. It's like, wow, I'd love to like combine different things. And oh my gosh, I'm just gushing. And so here's what's interesting. I've played over 60 hours in the game, and I've just got to the part where I'm at the Sphinx riddles, which a lot of people, right when it came out, they already got to that. And I think that's what's so unique about the game is you could play completely different than others. Anyway, luckily, though, by the time I got to the Sphinx riddles, I was able to just do them all except for one, which is insane. So get this. There's a riddle where it's asking you to go back to find the first seeker token that you found, and there will be something there. What's a seeker token? That's okay. Here's an analogy. Like in Breath of the Wild, remember there was those little I forgot what they were. Those little seed dudes, they're seeds or whatever that would be hidden, Korok seeds that would be hidden around the map, and you just got to find them. That's what these seeker tokens are. So the Sphinx riddle is asking me to go to where the first one was I found, and I'm like, how am I going to do that? So what I did was I pulled up a map online that shows in the starting area where all the seeker tokens are. I'm like, okay, well, let me go around there. And then I'm just really running into seeker tokens I never got. And I'm like, okay. And seeker tokens are cool. I don't think they're like amazing. Like, I don't think it's not like the seeker tokens do unlock stuff for you, but it's not pivotal to the game. So it is kind of fun that this game does things to you where then you can play it in your own way. And right now it's fun. I have 7 days in game to find where that first seeker token was. And that's kind of a fun thing because really I don't have to do it. But and then also the idea of I am using a guide to look at a map to see, okay, here's all the locations I could go to. So it becomes a whole new game where I'm just trying to find my original seeker token location, but then I'm getting other seeker tokens. And that's just another example of how this game just changes things up. But the core badass combat gameplay is there where while I'm, like yesterday, going to find these seeker tokens, or the one that I need to find, I come across a cave system I never saw before that's near the start of the game, or near the place you start, and going through that. And I just love, now that I have all these abilities, how much more fun it is. I can kind of choose what's more fun instead of what does more damage. Yeah, I guess something like that. Anyway, that's just more gushing about Dragon's Dogma 2. Incredible game. Incredible game. I can't believe like I stopped it for like a week or two and then went back and I'm just back in like I never left. Another thing, I want to play some Stellar Blade. It's just that I'm really digging Dragon's Dogma 2. But Stellar Blade came out. Let's jump to that real quick, actually. Just reviews in general. So looking at the reviews, I would say in general, this is considered a good game, unanimously. The way they explain it's just a really good character action game. It's nothing revolutionary. It doesn't like change the industry. It's not even like a must play, but it's like, this is a good game. One thing though I see sometimes, I see it even right here, someone saying Nier Automata. I've seen people, Stellar Blade review Nier as it can get. Like, I don't know, this reminds me of when Remnant came out, and people were like, oh, this is Souls-like with guns. And Remnant is not, I would not say this. You could pretty much say any game is a Souls-like nowadays. So when I want to use that comparison for real, it doesn't hit as hard because people are kind of using that for anything. And it's not as, it's like when Epic became the name, the word, I'm sorry, not the company, the word Epic, when that first became popular, or not, before it became popular to use, that was a term used to really describe something in a certain way. But now Epic is used to describe anything. So anyway, the difference with like Nier Automata and Stellar Blade, Nier Automata is not a character action game. I think it's a narrative-focused RPG that happens to have action elements, both melee and shooting combat. Both of them are not deep, but they are fun enough to get through a game. Whereas Stellar Blade is a character action game. So it's like, I don't know where the Nier Automata, the only thing I could think of is because it's like a good-looking female lead with a sword. And that's the same thing with Nier Automata. And where they're robots. Like, that's the thing. It's like these hot robot girls with swords. Those are the only, it's just, the only reason I make this a big deal is when people are going to look at a game, if it's being compared to something that's not what it's like, you might turn people off. Because Nier Automata was very much a popular game, but because it happened to hit this like niche, a big niche, but a super like, the JRPG anime fan niche, you wouldn't play Nier Automata for the gameplay. It's fine gameplay, but it's the whole package. Stellar Blade is more about its combat mechanics. So I'm probably going to try to jump on this. I would, Autonomous, you would be accurate, though. I'd say Nier's deepness is a lot harder to see, but that's just the style of that dev. That I agree with completely. So it's one of those things where, Stellar Blade it like has a combat system that has a lot to it. Nier Automata has more surface level systems that, yeah, as you go in the game, you can kind of use them how you wish, because depending on the bosses, depending on the enemies. And I think that's a good example, because I think if you were to tell someone, oh, it plays like Nier Automata, the average person would be like, well, that's not a big deal. But I think it's worth playing Nier Automata if you haven't, and I need to play Stellar Blade. So that might be what I do this weekend, depending on how much I play of Dragon's Dogma, because, man, that game's really got me. Okay, let's jump into some news real quick. Microsoft CEO committed to meeting players where they are after Xbox games dominate PlayStation Store. Interesting. While it already had a strong foothold on rival platforms thanks to perennial bestsellers Call of Duty and Minecraft, Xbox recently announced plans to bring more first-party games to PlayStation and Nintendo Switch, starting with Pentiment, Hi-Fi Rush, Sea of Thieves, and Grounded. And during Microsoft's third-quarter earnings call on Thursday, CEO Satya Nadella said Xbox games have been performing strongly on the PlayStation Store. Earlier this month, we had 7 games among the top 25 on the PlayStation Store, more than any other publisher, he said. Nadella appeared to be referencing a recent report from Tweaktown, which found that Xbox had more first-party games among the PlayStation Store's 25 best-selling titles than Sony did. On PS5, on April 18th, these were Modern Warfare 3 at number 2, Overwatch number 2 at number 7, Sea of Thieves at number 12, Fallout 4 at number 16, Minecraft at number 19, Fallout 76 at 20, and Grounded at number 23. And just looking at that list, obviously, yes, Microsoft did recently acquire a company, but Activision and Blizzard, along with that, were going to be on their way out, like we see with a lot of these companies that haven't recently, if Microsoft didn't step in. I think Microsoft, though, they were already on a different path than Sony to see this at first. Sony was all about the prestige games, where you play PlayStation to play the highest quality art of video gaming. Microsoft is all about, let's get as many games as possible. Let's get all these smaller devs have their games on the platform. Let's make sure backwards compatibility is working. Microsoft is focusing on, you could say quantity over quality, but that's still not true. It's more of this perceived quality. Because for me, the Sony PlayStation first-party games are perceived quality. So, in comparison, 5 Sony-published games made the list. They were MLB The Show 24, Destiny 2, and a trio of titles developed by third-party studios in Helldivers 2, Stellar Blade, and Rise of Ronin. It's worth noting that PlayStation Store rankings are updated daily on region. I gotta say, for PlayStation, for me personally, this has been the best time for them. Because if you look at the games, I wouldn't play MLB The Show, but Destiny 2, Helldivers 2, Stellar Blade, Rise of the Ronin, those are all different, interesting, fun games. So that's really cool what's going on. So we are committed to meeting players where they are bringing great games to more people on more devices. So Activision Blizzard helped drive Microsoft's gaming division to a record third quarter, despite a significant decline in Xbox hardware sales. There's so much that goes on with the video game industry, and sometimes how it mirrors what happens in Hollywood, because you could have an idea for a game, but really set a limit to like the budget. But a lot of these companies don't, that are already within that AAA publisher ecosystem. They were throwing a whole bunch of money at this stuff. So it's interesting. It's really interesting to see Microsoft is seeing more success on PlayStation, and PlayStation is getting a taste of that success with Helldivers 2 on PC, and the rumor potentially Xbox. Again, this is just another sign of the direction gaming is going, where it's going to be multi-platform. You're going to get the hardware you prefer. And I think how it's going to go is Sony's going to offer gamers a prestigious console experience, whereas Microsoft is just going to make sure they have, their high-end Xbox available and handheld, but also PC, where they're relying on that. So where people will go to Xbox to play the games, people will go to Sony to get a prestige console-like experience, if it actually works that way. So yeah, again, to end this, it's really cool that, or end this segment, it's really cool that not only is Microsoft seeing success with their games on the Sony PlayStation Store, but also the games are successful for Sony right now are very diverse, and they're not these prestige. I want a God of War to play like classic God of War. In fact, that was it. No Rest for the Wicked. Is that new game that just came out? That kind of goes back to that God of War like experience, where it's that kind of overhead character combat. Interesting stuff. All right. It's funny how sometimes a genre or a game will be an evolution of a genre, and it's really just a parallel evolution to another game. It's very interesting, and I'm just saying that because I don't think personally, I don't like personally where the God of War series went after God of War Ascension. And I don't even think God of War Ascension was as good as God of War 1, 2, or 3, but Ascension was at least trying to change that character action formula. And then when you get to the God of War 2018 and the other one, it really just became, here's AAA game the game. And I can see that stuff. Production value does not necessarily pull me in if I'm not getting a gamey experience. And luckily, Sony is understanding that now that they're seeing the success of Helldivers 2 and stuff like that. So, okay, I can go on and on about that. I'm just really, to be honest, here's the trajectory to get an understanding of where I'm coming from. I was not a Sony fan too much at the beginning because when PlayStation first came out, it was more focused on these 3D experiences, which are fine and they were awesome for me, but I kind of preferred the games that I was already playing. Now, that's just more of a personal thing. But then as I remember Guilty Gear X got ported to PlayStation, some other 2D games because they mandated at a certain time, they made the PlayStation was made to make it hard to develop for 2D games too. They even mandated only certain 2D games can even be on their platform. So for a while, they were excluding things. This is at the same time they were then telling retailers, if you're selling Dreamcast product, you can't sell Sony products, so they would rather sell Sony products. And then that helped with the decline of the Dreamcast. And then I think, PlayStation 2 was really cool. PlayStation 3 at first wasn't, but you can go back and there's a lot of cool games on there. And then what happened once we got to like 4 and 5, they started again kind of doing that thing like they kind of did with the PlayStation era, the original 1 and 2, is they mandate what types of games. So they made it where all their first-party games were these prestige-produced titles that were lacking in gameplay, like Horizon, God of War. But people like these because when you think of a console, a video game, people think PlayStation. That's why I was saying before, Microsoft could do whatever they want with PC or an Xbox, but Sony's always going to have that prestige console experience because that's what the masses are into. And so what happens is then the stakeholders of these companies are expecting masses return instead of what makes a game and that type of return. So then what happens is you lose your core base. And that's what a lot of these companies are realizing right now is over time, the growth subsides because they lose their core. So Sony realized that. They've even said it, which I love. They plainly said, our games are losing our core audience. Consoles is it's what the plants crave. Midnight Hatter. That's pretty good. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, that's funny, actually. I mean, it goes deeper than that. Yeah, using that quote from that movie that why did I forget the name of the movie? Okay. Mike Judge. Idiocracy. There we go. All right. So Call of Duty and Diablo boost Microsoft's gaming revenues, but Xbox sales continue to fall. Now, if they're talking about consoles, of course. Like, I don't think it's news to say that Xbox sales continue to fall. That's how that's going to work. That's why they're moving into the multi-platform space. So really, by saying Call of Duty and Diablo boost Microsoft's gaming revenues, that's all Microsoft needs, and then it's working. So good on them. New Nintendo Switch 2 details leak online. I feel like there's so many details of the Switch 2 that have been leaked that people could just build one from scratch. I don't know if that was really funny. All right, several new Nintendo Switch 2 details have leaked online, which reveals some new features coming to the new console. According to the Spanish website Vandal, which has reportedly received information from the console manufacturers, the Nintendo Switch 2 will have Joy-Cons similar to its predecessor. The website states that the new Switch 2 Joy-Cons will connect to the screen via magnetic strips. So I wonder if that means... The website states that this means... This is what I was going to bring up. Compatibility with the standard Nintendo Switch Joy-Cons are not possible, but would be possible with the Pro Controllers of the current Nintendo Switch. So basically saying anything that required wireless connectivity will work, but you can't use the standard Nintendo Switch. Now, maybe to connect, but could you use the Joy-Cons wirelessly? Maybe still. I don't know. According to the website, the information comes from manufacturers who have been able to touch the new Nintendo console. The website also outlines that the Nintendo Switch 2 will be released in spring of 2025, which is a date that's already been frequently rumored. Brazilian journalist Pedro Henrique Lipe, what a name, who has successfully leaked Nintendo announcements in the past, says the reveal of the successor to the Nintendo Switch is scheduled for June 2024. Yeah, that is cool. If the reveal, that would make sense with seeing how little we're hearing about the Switch, or Switch games coming out from Nintendo. As of February 2024, the Nintendo Switch has sold over 139 million units, making it one of the most popular consoles of all time. So, I'm excited about a Switch 2 because I want to be able to play Nintendo games on better hardware. And I think now with what we could see with these mobile handhelds that are, or mobile handheld, that doesn't make sense. With all these handhelds that have been made for mobile gaming, the graphics can get pretty awesome. And I think Nintendo went a while with kind of, I don't know, when the Switch first came out, it was pretty amazing to get something handheld like that. But we're expecting more. There's a couple things from this. I think it's more just me. It's like I want a way to emulate or to replay DS and 3DS games. And Nintendo put themselves in a weird position. Even Wii U. Let me add that. Wii U, 3DS, DS. If there's nothing in the future that has that two-screen setup, I don't think Nintendo is going to be the ones to deliver those games again. The only thing I can think of is, let's say there's an idea where you can move the Switch vertically and then they have like a special like DS or Wii U Joy-Con you can slide on, made for playing games vertically, so you can have like the two screens and manipulate because you'd have the touch screen. The other thing I was thinking too, and it was part of these rumors, is the idea of somehow there being a second screen or attaching a second screen. So just throwing this out there, it would be neat if there was some compatibility with the Switch 2 where you can attach a Switch 1 screen on it. And maybe that's not a big deal, and it could be that no one really cares about the DS stuff, and Nintendo's like, yeah, we're not... If we are re-releasing a DS, 3DS, or Wii U game, we are going to reformat it to be done on a single screen. I think it's double screen stuff, dual screen, should be more of a standard feature. Just think of how habits have changed and we multitask all the time. When I was recently playing Portrait of Ruin and Order of Ecclesia, having the two screens for map and inventory and then my gameplay was amazing. I would welcome that. Like, let's say I'm just going to throw this out there, Helldivers 2. Let's say there's a way where you could do a second screen setup where one screen is the gameplay, the other screen maybe shows stats, the mini-map, health, cooldowns for certain things. I really think two screens, that might sound excessive, but I feel like there's more that can be done with that because a lot of people do have extra screens lying around. Even if it's a matter of using your phone and you mount it near you and you can like look at a map while you're playing a game. I don't know. I think there's something there. We'll see. Let's look at chat real quick. To be fair, Xbox never really had the best sales. Most games you could get there, you could just get on a PC. Exactly. And that's why I'm glad Microsoft has stepped up to do that cross stuff. Like I bought Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth recently. That was cross-platform. There's games in the past. And I think Microsoft knew that. And software is so much lower overhead than hardware. The profit margins are higher. People are building their own PCs and consoles. It's a natural evolution. Exactly. And I think, again, Microsoft saw that. And they're like, yeah, we'll just Have to leverage that. Or a remote play where you can hold the console and project the second screen to your TV. Yeah, yeah. Wait a minute. Great idea. Great idea, actually. Holding the Switch 2, let's say there's an option to project the main game onto the screen, or maybe you can still hook up the Switch 2 somehow and still hold it. Yeah, there's something there. That's a good one. Xenoblade Chronicles X was cool about it since it was really just your map and tower setup. It wasn't incredibly invasive to standard gameplay. Okay. That's interesting to know. Okay, well, Switch 2. I'm excited, to be honest. Okay, leveraging TV and movie adaptations to benefit game franchises. Opinion. Well, my opinion is, yeah. As long as you adapt it correctly, that's good. Yeah, again, Xbox may have a hardware decline, but they are doing good because it's about the software. Here we go. Lollipop Chainsaw Repop's full reveal is coming soon. I can't wait to play that. This was something James Gunn helped produce. I played it back when it came out. I just never beat it. I liked it. Anything else really? I think that seems to be the main talking points. Was there something? Yeah, I grabbed this other screen I want to share because I saw someone playing this yesterday. It looked fun. A gun-toting crab confronts a fiendishly tough video game genre. So, let me just read it. With a rare suite of accessibility options for the Souls-like genre, Another Crab's Treasure challenges the idea that difficulty is immutable. Unlike most Souls-like games, Another Crab's Treasure gives players the option to reduce the health of all enemies or to increase the window of timing to parry an attack. That's neat. So what we're looking at here is this game. I guess it's called Another Crab's Treasure. And it's apparently you're a crab underwater, but it plays like a Souls-like. So that's cool. So for me, again, they're saying Souls-like. Does that really mean that? To me, it's just, here's what's potentially just this open world action RPG where you're a crab. And it looks pretty neat. Again, I watched someone play it. They're jumping around. In fact, when I was watching it, it reminded me more of Mario than it did Souls. It's just Mario with combat. What makes a Souls game a Souls game? What makes a Souls game a Souls game? That's a really good question. I think it has to do with the fact that you feel at any moment the dread of losing your progress. If that is something you have to keep in mind as you're trying to learn the systems, that makes it more Souls-like. You know, like if the game is set up to where, hey, we have a checkpoint here, there's another checkpoint far away, be careful. Like even a Castlevania game. That's Souls-like stuff, so I don't know. Anyway, that's about it. Yeah, not too much news going on, but it was cool to read some of that Switch 2 news, because I'm excited about the Switch 2. I want to see some more interesting stuff coming from Nintendo. And then, yeah, this weekend I'll probably just play some more Dragon's Dogma 2, try to get into Stellar Blade. I'll see what else happens. But, yeah, let me know below what in the comments what you're going to be playing this weekend. But until next time, have a good weekend.